As we reach the end of this audiobook, take a quiet moment with yourself. Not to rush ahead, not to think about what's next, but to reflect on where you are and where you're choosing to go. Because that's what this entire journey has really been about. Choice. Being smart is not a talent you're born with. It's not reserved for a select few. And it's not something you suddenly figure out one day. Being smart is a decision you make again and again. Being smart is being aware. Most people live on autopilot. They react instead of reflect. They repeat habits without questioning them. They move from day to day without stopping to ask, is this really working? But smart people pause. They step back and observe their thinking. They notice their habits. They question their assumptions. Awareness is the starting point of intelligence. You can't change what you don't notice. The moment you become aware of how you think, how you use your time, and how you respond to challenges, you gain power. And power leads to choice. Small choices shape big lives. One of the most important lessons in this audiobook is that your life is built quietly, not in dramatic moments, not in one big breakthrough, but in small, everyday decisions. Choosing to plan your day instead of drifting through it. Choosing to start a difficult task instead of avoiding it. Choosing to learn instead of complaining. Choosing responsibility instead of excuses. Each choice alone feels small, almost insignificant. But over time, those choices compound, just like interest in a bank account. And one day you look back and realize your life didn't change suddenly. It changed steadily. Progress beats perfection. If there's one trap that holds people back, it's waiting to be perfect, waiting to feel ready, waiting for confidence, waiting for the right time. But smart people know better. They know that clarity comes from action. They know that confidence is built, not found. They know that progress, even slow progress, beats standing still. You don't need to change everything today. You only need to change one thing, one habit, one behavior, one decision. Start where you are, use what you have, move forward. That's smart. Responsibility is freedom. Taking responsibility can sound heavy, but it's the opposite. The moment you accept full responsibility for your life, you take back control. No more blaming, no more waiting for others to fix things. When you say, "This is my life and I'm responsible for it," you unlock the freedom to change it. Smart people don't waste energy on excuses. They invest energy in solutions. And that's why they move forward faster. Discipline is self-respect. Discipline isn't punishment. It's not harsh. It's not about denying yourself joy. Discipline is a form of self-respect. It's keeping promises to yourself. It's doing what matters even when it's uncomfortable. It's choosing long-term growth over short-term relief. Each disciplined action strengthens your identity. You begin to see yourself as capable, reliable, in control. And that changes how you show up in every area of life. A smart life is a meaningful life. Success without meaning feels empty. That's why being smart isn't just about productivity or money. It's about alignment. Living in a way that matches your values. Building a life that supports your well-being. Creating results you're proud of without sacrificing who you are. When your goals align with your values, work feels purposeful. Effort feels worthwhile. Life feels balanced. A smart life is not just successful, it's fulfilling. Your journey starts now. As this audiobook comes to an end, remember this. Nothing you've heard matters unless you act on it. Not all at once,
not perfectly, but consistently. Think a little more clearly. Plan a little more deliberately. Act a little more courageously. These small decisions will reshape your future. Because in the end, being smart isn't about knowing more. It's about choosing better. So, take a breath, make a decision, and begin. Your future is built one smart choice at a time. Thank you for listening. And remember, be smart, and your future will thank you. Audio Guide.
As we reach the final part of this audiobook, it's time to zoom out. So far, we've talked about thinking clearly. We've talked about goals, discipline, time, focus, and action. But now comes the bigger question. What is all of this for? Brian Tracy reminds us that success is not just about achievement. It's about building a life that works on the inside and the outside. A smart life is not rushed, it's not chaotic, and it's not empty. A smart life is intentional. One of the clearest differences between struggling people and successful people is time perspective. Most people live in the moment. They ask, what feels good now? What's easy right now? What can I avoid today? Smart people think differently. They ask, where will this lead? What will this cost me later? Who will I become if I keep doing this? Brian Tracy calls this long-term thinking. It's the ability to sacrifice short-term comfort for long-term reward, and it's one of the most valuable thinking skills you can develop. Every smart decision is a vote for your future self. Money is often misunderstood. People chase it, worry about it, argue about it. But Brian Tracy simplifies the subject. Money is a reward for value delivered. Smart people don't chase money directly. They focus on becoming more valuable. They develop skills. They solve problems. They take responsibility. Income increases when usefulness increases. That's why Tracy emphasizes continuous learning, skill development, professional excellence. Money flows naturally to competence. Being smart with money doesn't require genius, it requires discipline. Brian Tracy teaches several timeless principles. Spend less than you earn, save consistently, avoid emotional spending, invest in learning before luxury. Smart people treat money like a servant, not a master. They don't use money to impress others. They use it to create freedom, security, and options. Financial peace is a form of intelligence. Confidence is something you're not born with. It's something you build. Brian Tracy explains that confidence comes from one simple habit: keeping promises to yourself. Every time you do what you said you would do, finish a task you didn't feel like starting, face something uncomfortable, your self-respect grows. Smart people don't wait to feel confident. They act, and confidence follows. Confidence is the result of integrity with yourself. Fear never fully disappears. Even successful people feel doubt. The difference is how they respond to it. Brian Tracy teaches that courage is not the absence of fear, it's the decision to move forward despite fear. Smart people feel fear and act anyway. They understand fear shrinks with action, confidence grows with exposure, avoidance strengthens anxiety, progress requires bravery in small daily doses. No one succeeds alone. Your relationships influence your mood, your mindset, your opportunities, your future. Brian Tracy emphasizes that communication is a learnable skill. Smart communicators listen carefully, speak clearly, avoid blame, and focus on solutions. They seek understanding before agreement. Good communication builds trust. Trust builds influence. Influence creates opportunity. Your environment shapes you more than motivation ever will. Brian Tracy encourages smart people to limit time with negative influences, spend time with goal-oriented people, design spaces that encourage focus,
Feed the mind with positive input. You don't rise to your goals, you fall to your environment. Smart people shape their surroundings intentionally. Failure is inevitable, but failure is not fatal. Brian Tracy teaches that successful people fail often, but they fail intelligently. They don't ask, "Why me?" They ask, "What can I learn? What should I adjust? What's the next step?" Failure becomes valuable when it's analyzed instead of dramatized. Smart people use failure as data. Your mind needs training just like your body. Smart people practice mental discipline, positive self-talk, gratitude, visualization, stress control. Brian Tracy often emphasizes visualization, clearly imagining success in advance. Your mind prepares your body for what you repeatedly picture. What you see internally, you begin to act out externally. Mental fitness creates emotional stability. Emotional stability creates better decisions. Here's a truth many people overlook. Success is not one big decision, it's thousands of small ones. Small, smart choices, reading instead of scrolling, acting instead of delaying, planning instead of reacting, learning instead of blaming. Each choice alone feels insignificant. Together, they shape a life. Consistency beats intensity, always. Brian Tracy reminds us that success without meaning feels empty. Smart people ask deeper questions. Why am I doing this? Who does this help? What kind of person am I becoming? Purpose connects effort to fulfillment. When goals align with values, work feels lighter, discipline feels easier, life feels richer. A smart life is not just productive, it is meaningful.
Let's bring this together. Being smart with time means choosing priorities deliberately, acting despite discomfort, tackling important tasks early, planning before acting, protecting focus, managing energy wisely, eliminating low-value work, acting quickly on good ideas, building success habits, learning continuously. Time rewards clarity. It punishes confusion. Let's start with a feeling most people know very well. You wake up with good intentions. You plan to be productive, but by the end of the day, you're tired, and somehow the most important things didn't get done. Brian Tracy says this problem has nothing to do with laziness. It's a thinking problem, not an effort problem. Smart people don't squeeze more into their day. They make better choices about what deserves their time. Time is life. How you spend your hours is how you spend your years. So if you want a smart life, you must first become smart with time. Time doesn't favor anyone. It doesn't reward effort. It doesn't care about intentions. Everyone gets 24 hours. The difference is not time, it's decision-making. Brian Tracy explains that time management is really priority management. You don't manage time, you manage yourself. Smart people understand this early. If everything is important, nothing is. They deliberately choose what matters most and let go of the rest. You can tell a lot about a person by how they spend their day, not by what they say they value, but by what they actually do. Brian Tracy reminds us, your time usage reveals your real priorities. If your goals are important, your time must show it. Smart people regularly ask, is this activity aligned with my goals? Is this the best use of my energy right now? What am I avoiding? Honest answers lead to intelligent change. One of Brian Tracy's most powerful ideas is the law of three. No matter your role or ambition, there are 3 activities that contribute more than all others to your success. Not 10, not 20, 3.
Your job is to identify them. Examples. For a student, studying effectively, practicing skills, reviewing material. For a professional, planning, execution, relationship building. For an entrepreneur, strategy, sales, leadership. Smart people organize their days around these three priorities. Everything else is secondary. Procrastination is not a time problem, it's an emotional problem. You delay tasks not because they're hard, but because they make you uncomfortable. Brian Tracy explains that procrastination feeds on fear of failure, fear of criticism, fear of discomfort. But here's the irony. The longer you delay, the worse it feels. Smart people break this cycle with immediate action. They don't wait to feel ready. They start imperfectly. Action reduces fear. Delay multiplies it. The frog is your most important task, the one with the biggest payoff and the biggest resistance. Brian Tracy's advice: eat your frog first thing in the morning. Why? Because willpower is highest early in the day, because confidence increases after progress, because discipline strengthens identity. Smart people design their mornings for achievement, not reaction. They don't begin the day with email, messages, or noise. They begin with purposeful action. Planning feels boring to many people, but smart people know better. Brian Tracy says, every minute spent planning saves 10 minutes in execution. Planning gives your mind direction. Without it, you drift. Smart planning includes writing tasks down, ranking them by importance, estimating time realistically, focusing on outcomes, not motion. A written plan is like a map. Without it, even effort gets lost. In today's world, focus is rare and therefore extremely valuable. Brian Tracy points out, your ability to concentrate on one task at a time is a key success skill. Distraction destroys depth. Depth creates excellence. Smart people train focus deliberately. They work in uninterrupted blocks. They silence notifications. They create rules for attention. Focus is not about willpower. It's about environment design. Multitasking feels productive, but it's a trap. Each time you switch tasks, your brain pays a cost. Energy drains, mistakes increase, quality drops. Brian Tracy reminds us, you do your best work when you give your full attention. Smart people finish tasks completely, avoid constant switching, respect mental limits. Single tasking is smart thinking in action. Being busy is easy. Being effective is intentional. Brian Tracy encourages us to ask, is this task necessary? Is this the best use of my skills? What happens if I don't do this? Smart people eliminate low-value activities without guilt. They delegate when possible. They automate when appropriate. Not everything deserves your effort. Time management fails without energy management. You can't do high-level work when you're exhausted. Smart people observe when they feel most alert, when they think most clearly, when creativity peaks. They schedule their most demanding work during peak energy times. Your body and mind are tools. Smart people maintain them. One of the biggest differences between thinkers and achievers is speed of execution. Smart people act quickly on good ideas. They understand clarity comes from action. Progress beats perfection. Momentum creates confidence. They don't wait for certainty. They move forward and adjust. Indecision costs more than mistakes. Your future is built quietly every day. Brian Tracy emphasizes that habits are either working for you or against you. Smart people intentionally install habits that support success: daily planning, reading, focused work, reflection. Habits remove the need for motivation. They automate progress. Smart people never stop learning. They treat knowledge as an investment. They read, they listen, they observe. Brian Tracy says, "The more you learn, the more you earn." Learning keeps you adaptable. Adaptability keeps you relevant. Relevance keeps you successful.
One reason people feel overwhelmed is not because life is too hard, it's because they're not clear. Smart people seek clarity. Brian Tracy encourages asking questions like, what do I really want? What is my biggest goal right now? What is holding me back? What would I do if I weren't afraid? Clarity brings focus. Focus brings energy. Energy produces results. Think of sunlight. Spread out, it warms. Focused through a lens, it burns. Your mind works the same way. Another core idea in Be Smart thinking is this: everything happens for a reason. Success isn't luck. Failure isn't random. Actions have consequences. Habits create outcomes. If you want a better future, don't hope. Change the causes. Ask yourself, what am I doing that creates my current results? What would happen if I changed my daily habits? Smart people study success the way scientists study experiments. They observe, they adjust, they improve. Your self-concept is how you see yourself. Brian Tracy explains that you'll never consistently outperform your self-image. If you see yourself as average, you'll subconsciously act average. If you see yourself as capable, disciplined, and intelligent, your behavior rises to match it. The smart approach? Act as if you are already the person you want to become. Speak confidently. Prepare carefully. Keep promises to yourself. Your actions shape your identity, not the other way around. Self-discipline isn't punishment, it's self-respect. Tracy defines discipline as doing what needs to be done, when it needs to be done, whether you feel like it or not. Smart people don't wait for motivation. They understand that motivation follows action. Like starting a cold engine, once you begin, momentum builds. Small acts of discipline today create freedom tomorrow. Let's pause and recap. In this first part, we learned that being smart means taking full responsibility for your life, controlling your thinking, setting clear, written goals, seeking clarity instead of confusion, understanding cause and effect, building a strong self-concept, practicing self-discipline. This is the foundation. Without it, nothing else stands. In Part 2, we'll move into time management, productivity, focus, and working smarter instead of harder, the tools that turn good thinking into real-world results. Imagine for a moment that life is a long road trip. Some people jump into the car with no map, no destination, and barely any fuel, and then wonder why they feel lost, stressed, or behind. Other people pause first. They think, they plan, they choose their direction. That, Brian Tracy tells us, is what it really means to be smart. Being smart isn't about having the highest IQ, going to the best school, or using complicated language. Being smart is about how you think, how you decide, and how you act every single day. In this audiobook, we'll explore how small, intelligent choices, repeated consistently, can completely change the direction of your life. Let's start at the foundation. One of Brian Tracy's strongest ideas is simple but uncomfortable. You are responsible for your life. Not your parents, not the economy, not your boss, not your past. At first, this idea can feel heavy, but in reality, it's incredibly freeing. Think of responsibility like holding the steering wheel of your car.
If you're not holding it, someone else is, or the car is drifting on its own. The smartest people Tracy has studied all share one habit. They accept full responsibility for where they are and where they're going. They don't waste energy blaming. They don't complain about unfairness. They ask one powerful question instead. What can I do to improve this situation? The moment you accept responsibility, you gain control. And control is the beginning of confidence. Brian Tracy often says, you become what you think about most of the time. Think of your mind as a garden. If you plant clear goals, positive expectations, and useful ideas, your life starts producing results. If you allow fear, excuses, and self-doubt to grow unchecked, they take over. Here's the key idea. Your outer world is a reflection of your inner world. Smart people are careful about what they allow into their minds, the conversations they repeat, the stories they tell themselves, the beliefs they accept as true. They practice something Tracy calls constructive thinking, thinking in ways that help, not hurt. Instead of saying, I can't do this, they ask, how can I learn to do this? That small shift changes everything. If responsibility is the steering wheel, goals are the destination. Without goals, you're busy but not effective. You move, but you don't progress. Brian Tracy studied thousands of successful people, and one pattern stood out clearly. They write down their goals. Not vague wishes, not someday dreams, clear, specific outcomes. Here's a simple metaphor. A goal is like a target. If there's no target, you'll never know if you hit it. Smart goal setters decide what they want, write it down, set a deadline, break it into steps, and most importantly, they review their goals regularly. A written goal activates your mind. It gives your brain a job, and your brain loves solving problems when it knows the objective.